Good evening, America. I'm Gary Franchi coming to you live from Washington, D.C., where the sun has set on day 102 of Donald Trump's triumphant return to the White House. And what you're witnessing right now is a broadcast they don't want you to see, information they don't want you to hear, and truths they desperately are trying to suppress. The elites and their media lapdogs are working overtime to bury today's bombshell stories, from Trump's awe-inspiring National Prayer Summit to the historic Ukraine deal that finally delivers payback for the American taxpayer. But we're here broadcasting live on YouTube to millions worldwide, plus Rumble and X, because the truth cannot be contained. And speaking of truth tellers, we have to acknowledge Tucker Carlson's groundbreaking interview with Catherine Austin Fitts, the former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, who blew the whistle on the $21 trillion missing from government agencies. Tucker's willingness to platform voices like Fitts is exactly why they forced him off the air, but their censorship only amplifies the message. Now, before we dive into today's explosive topics, I need to ask you, yes, you watching right now, to share the stream via text message to 3 friends. It's the only way to bypass the algorithm is trying to silence us. The tech oligarchs don't want this information spreading, which is precisely why it must. Now, one feature that sets the raw feed apart from the corporate media propaganda machines is that we actually interact directly with you, our viewers, in the live chat. We'll be reading your super chats and Rumble rants between segments and featuring them on screen for the world to see, because your voice matters here. Now, today marks Donald Trump's 102nd day back in the White House, and what a day it's been. We're tracking the establishment's meltdown as Trump leads the nation in prayer, reclaiming our Christian heritage and driving the secular left absolutely insane. We've also obtained exclusive details on Trump's mineral masterstroke with Ukraine, a deal so brilliant it secures critical resources while paving a path to peace that the warmongers in Washington never imagined possible. And breaking earlier today, a major White House shakeup as National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is removed following the Signalgate controversy that compromised sensitive operations. We've got sources inside the administration with exclusive details no one else is reporting. Now, Patriots, look, independent media is under attack like never before. The only way the raw feed continues bringing you these vital truths is with your support. The donation links are in the description below. Whatever you can contribute helps us fight back against the censors and keep this broadcast alive. And for those who want to show their support while getting something in return, check out our Next News merch shop for exclusive gear that lets the world know where you stand. Plus, you can join our YouTube channel membership to unlock behind-the-scenes content, access to our 24/7 Discord chat, and special acknowledgement during our broadcasts. I've got some videos up that I recorded at the White House today that only members can see. So stay right where you are. Don't touch that screen. The raw feed starts right now, and let's welcome you to the show. Pothead Kenny's here. Our Boyd, Sure You Gospel. We got Duty to Rebel. We've got Mrs. Mom 2. We've got a Watchman. We've also got Snoop D-O-G-E, Snoop Doge in the house. We've got J.F. Baird, 1-4 Awareness, Brand 47. We've got Cisco in the house, Overeducated SP. We've got Tom B420, Go One Punk is here. Love All, 131, Kibbs Ellis. We've got Curtis Brown in the house. Who else is here? Scontech. And let's see, Malia Man. And who else? Who's here? Drop a message in the chat so I can give you some props. We got Greg in here. Kimmy Harvey. We got Juan Ruiz. Ready to start some trouble tonight. 10% for the big guys here. We got Connor Shackle. Who else is in the house tonight? Let's see. Okay, well, that's all we've got right now, and we need to make sure you guys are sharing this stream so that we can get the message out right now. Juan Ruiz just gifted 10 Next News Network memberships already out the gate. Holy cow. lucky members just picked up some... Okay, so let's just get into the news right now, because Trump's common sense revolution is reclaiming America. America, what we're witnessing, isn't just a presidency, it's a restoration. 100 days since President Trump returned to the White House, and the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. While the mainstream media hyperventilates over tweets and personalities, they're deliberately ignoring the systematic dismantling of the administrative state that's been suffocating American freedom for decades. And today we're going to take you inside the West Wing, where Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller delivered a masterclass in transparency detailing how Trump has slashed $200 billion in government waste, secured our borders, ended the war on American energy, and restored free speech. The establishment wanted to erase the Trump presidency from history, but instead, he's returned with even greater resolve to reclaim America's greatness. You need to understand what's happening because they don't want you to know the full story, so keep watching. Now, here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. That means $100,000 savings account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, you buy groceries or pay the bills. Prices are up, your dollar is down. But there's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven: gold, an asset that holds its value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers, just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. So head to nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down below, or you can call that number, 877-646-5347. And when Colin picks up the phone, you tell him that Gary Franchi sent you, all right? Tell him I said hi. Now, before we get into my special report from the White House, a couple news items I wanted to bring to your attention. I'm not sure if you saw this, but it looks like Ilhan Omar has got a filthy mouth. Yeah. So if you got some small kids in the room and you don't want to hear any F-bombs, then maybe you should either do the whole earmuff thing or just have them leave. She was confronted by a Daily Caller reporter in the swamp today. Well, you're going to see what she said. Listen.
Be traveling to El Salvador. Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Rodrigo Garcia?
I think you should fuck off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what, Congresswoman?
fuck off.
Who should?
You.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, thanks. Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Rodrigo Garcia?
I think you should fuck off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what,
You
Congresswoman?
should fuck off.
Who should?
You.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, Ilhan Omar is a disgrace to Congress. And is that how she responds to press? Telling them to F off? I mean, he asked a very respectable question because, I mean, they are going down to El Salvador. They are advocating for this, person who is in a terrorist organization. But of course, I mean, Ilhan Omar is part of the problem too. So I guess it all makes sense. Anyway, we've also got this from Doge. Elon Musk and the Doge boys expose reckless spending at U.S. education gov. Caesar's Palace and stadiums were being rented out for parties on your dime. Did you know this? Yeah, here's Jesse Waters, a short clip, but this is taking you inside Doge.
Before us. So we normally go around the table, say, what do we get done this week?
Want to go this way?
Sure. No, we start with you.
Sure. So actually, a lot of great work at the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education. And there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that Doge made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so,
Yes.
nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. Anything. But as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Huh, that's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums.
Leasing stadiums.
For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties.
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums. Like
What's that, $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto, okay? We're talking at scale. We normally go around the table.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Did you know that? Did you know it was that bad? Thank God for Elon Musk and thank God for Doge. But now it's time to go to the White House where I filed this report earlier today. Take a look. Good afternoon, Patriots. Gary Franchi here with the Next News Network reporting outside the White House on this stunning May 1st. The sun is shining bright and the D.C. press corps is buzzing with electric energy. Moments ago, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller were unleashing fire in the press room, breaking down President Trump's first 100 days of restoring common sense to America. I've got the exclusive clips from the White House that will fire you up. Now, let's start with transparency. Trump is proving he is the most open president ever. In this clip, hear how he has delivered on his promises, securing our borders, slashing $200 million in waste, and ending Biden's war on energy, all while standing up for free speech and our kids. Watch.
To mark President Trump's triumphant first 100 days in office, we've detailed all week how President Trump has been hard at work delivering on the promises he made to the American people. And yesterday, the president once again showcased why he is the most transparent and accessible president in American history when he held his fourth open press cabinet meeting. Every cabinet secretary went into great detail, explaining how their respective agencies are making life better for American families and businesses. And then the president allowed all of you to ask questions on anything you wanted afterwards. One of the main reasons President Trump won nearly 80 million votes, swept all 7 battleground states, and received a resounding mandate from the American public is because of the contrast he presented during the campaign and continues to this day. Everything President Trump's agenda is grounded in one thing: common sense. While the Democrat Party went off the deep end and doubled down on pure craziness, President Trump pledged to restore common sense back to the United States of America. In a little more than 3 months, that's exactly what he's done. He recognized that America is a sovereign nation that cannot survive if it does not protect its territorial borders. So he secured the border in record time and ended the mass invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens into our homeland. The president knows his top responsibility is ensuring the safety of the American people, which is why he's arresting violent illegal alien invaders in our communities who threaten our public safety. And it's unacceptable to President Trump to allow rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of Americans' precious tax dollars, which is why the president championed a historic Doge effort that saved nearly $200 billion already. President Trump knows America is blessed with an abundance of liquid gold below our feet in the form of fossil fuels. So he ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy and is restoring American energy dominance to lower costs and strengthen our national security. President Trump believes Americans should be free to drive whatever car they want, so he ended Joe Biden's disastrous EV mandate and promoted true consumer choice. President Trump stood up for the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law, so he terminated radical DEI preferencing and federal contracting and directed federal agencies to relentlessly combat private sector discrimination. DEI seeks to divide and pit Americans against each other based on immutable characteristics. President Trump put an end to it. In President Trump's America, individual dignity, hard work, and excellence are the only things that will determine if you get ahead. President Trump is a proud free speech champion, which is why he ended Joe Biden's trampling of free speech rights and the federal government's censorship of American speech on online platforms. The president believes college students have a right to speak their minds and go to school safely. Again, common sense. So he took bold action to protect Jewish American students from harassment by pro-Hamas radicals on their campuses. And President Trump knows that America's children are our future, and he'll never stop fighting for them. That's why he ended the radical, un-American indoctrination of children by eliminating support for divisive, radical gender ideology and equity ideology, and why the president protected parents' fundamental rights. And lastly, the president believes in fundamental biology. Isn't that something? Which is why he made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two sexes, male and female. And because men and women are biologically different, President Trump ended the unfair, demeaning practice of forcing women to compete against men in sports and having their private spaces invaded. When President Trump promised a complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense, he meant it. And over the next 100 days, get ready for historic trade deals, budget deals, and peace deals.
Next up, Trump's taking on the woke DEI disaster. Watch this clip as the White House slams race-based hiring, like air traffic controllers picked by race and not skill, and vows to enforce merit across the board from government to hospitals.
One of the most significant crises that President Trump inherited upon taking office was the wave of racial discrimination, so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies that have taken over both public sector and private sector entities all across the United States of America. Perhaps the most dramatic example of this is that our air traffic controllers were being hired and promoted based on race and gender, not their ability to conduct our nation's air traffic. I would estimate that probably 90% of Americans would agree with the statement that airline safety should be based on your ability to keep, airline safety jobs should be based on your ability to keep planes landing and taking off and flying safely, not on what demographic box you check. President Trump has ended across the entire federal government all hiring, recruiting, retention, promotion, and training based on race and sex. This includes in our law enforcement agencies. So again, when we took office, even in sensitive law enforcement, national security, and intelligence agencies, we were hiring individuals not on their ability to carry a weapon, not on their ability to keep Americans safe, not on their ability to conduct sensitive intelligence operations, but based upon race and sex. And obviously, that is unacceptable. It's going to be merit-based across the whole federal government. But this wasn't just the federal government. This was the private sector, and this was also, of course, our entire university and education system. So President Trump's Department of Justice, working with other departments and agencies, have made clear that this administration is going to fully enforce Title VI, Title VII, and Title IX of our Federal Civil Rights Code. Discrimination based on race and sex is prohibited by law, and this administration will vigorously enforce that. And companies, small or large, that violate plain text of federal statutes will face appropriate financial and other penalties. This administration is not going to let our society devolve into communist, woke, DEI strangulation. We are going to have a system of merit, which is not just a social and cultural issue, it's an economic issue. When you hire, retain, and recruit based on merit, as President Trump has directed, you advance innovation, you advance growth, you advance investment, you advance job creation, you create the best and safest product for all Americans. When a citizen goes to, say, a hospital in a medical emergency, they don't care what race or sex their doctor or their nurse is. They want the best treatment they can get in that emergency. When they're flying a plane or when they're on an aircraft, they want that pilot to be the best pilot, the safest pilot, not caring what that pilot's race or sex is. This applies across the whole government.
Now, here is a fiery takedown of the media. In this clip, the White House calls out the press for ignoring American victims of Biden's border policies, like Jocelyn Ungary, murdered by Venezuelan gangbangers while shilling for terrorists. Watch.
It is a sad reflection on the state of our media and many of the outlets represented in this room that you obsessively try to shill for this MS-13 terrorist, well, no coverage occurred in your papers about any of the Americans that were raped and tortured and murdered by the illegals that Biden was importing into our country. You know, you talk about due process. The Biden administration made the decision to give extensive due process to 2 trained Nicaragua terrorists that were apprehended at the border just a couple years ago. They were 2 gentlemen. They were from Venezuela. They were members of Trained Nicaragua. The Biden administration Border Patrol apprehended them and made the decision to provide them with extensive due process, put them onto a program known as supervised release, and put them on ankle monitors so that they could go through a lengthy legal, judicial determination as to whether these legal aliens who had just set foot on U.S. soil might want to live in the United States for the rest of their lives. What was the result of that decision? What was the result of that choice that was made? Those 2 men kidnapped a young girl named Jocelyn Ungary from her family. They beat her, they sexually assaulted her, they tortured her, they stripped her, they murdered her, and they dumped her body. That is what the Biden administration's policy was. Most of your papers never covered her story when it happened. To the extent that you covered it at all, it was because President Trump forced you to cover it by highlighting it repeatedly over and over again. He had to shame you into covering it. And each and every one of you that sides over and over again with these MS-13 terrorists, to the extent that you have the financial means to do so, you all choose to live in condos or homes or houses as far away from these kinds of gangbangers as you possibly can. If I offered any one of you a rent-free home with no taxes to pay in any of these gang neighborhoods, and I said your neighbors are MS-13 terrorists or Mexican mafia or Sinaloa cartel or Trained Nicaragua, I couldn't pay you to live there. But yet you, with your coverage, are trying to force innocent Americans to have these people as their neighbors, and that one day their daughter may be abducted from their home and raped and murdered. So you're not going to get an ounce of sympathy from this administration or President Trump for the terrorists who've invaded our homes and our country.
Trump's also fighting for our kids against radical gender ideology. This clip reveals how he's banning men from women's sports, stopping schools from changing kids' genders behind parents' backs, and ending taxpayer-funded mutilations, calling it what it is, child abuse.
This administration ended the Biden administration's policy and the Democrat Party's policy of allowing men into women's sports, men into women's spaces. We are using every single legal and financial tool we have at President Trump's direction to make it clear that schools and universities are and will lose federal funds, as you've seen in Maine, if you allow men to invade women's sports and women's spaces. And this applies to our whole K-12 system. The Department of Justice is also coordinating with state and local law enforcement to fight child abuse in our school systems. It is child abuse to change a child's gender, particularly if you do not inform the parents. In other words, if a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old goes to school, or a 7-year-old goes to school, and the teacher tries to turn the boy into a girl or the girl into a boy, that is child abuse. And this administration is treating that as child abuse. And it is a gross violation of parental rights. This also includes the administration's message to our hospital systems that they cannot and will not be allowed to use taxpayer dollars to perform chemical castrations and sexual mutilations of children. Castration surgeries, castration drugs, sterilization treatments of children are barbaric. They violate all sound medical ethics. They are completely unwarranted. They harm children for life irreversibly. It is child torture. It is child abuse. It is medical malpractice. And so the Department of Health and Human Services, under the leadership of Bobby Kennedy, as well as the Department of Justice and other departments of this government, are making clear to our medical providers and our hospital systems that you cannot use taxpayer dollars to perform these barbaric procedures on America's children. And HHS has systematically updated eliminated all of the junk, fake science that was produced under the Biden administration promoting sex changes on children, promoting the idea of sterilizing children. That's been cleaned out. That's been removed, and new guidance is being issued to doctors and hospitals advising them that they cannot perform these horrifying procedures, these irreversible procedures on our nation's children.
Now, on to China. Trump's not letting them steal our future. Watch this clip as the White House details his plan to stop China's intellectual property theft, currency manipulation, and trade deficits, securing our economy and national security.
So China is a unique situation, obviously. The president has talked at length about what happened to us economically since China's entrance into the World Trade Organization and the trillions and trillions of dollars of trade deficits that we've racked up with China over the period of that time, and what that's meant for our national security, what that's meant for our economic security, what that's meant for our supply chains. Obviously, right now, the Secretary of the Treasury is in the process of developing a plan that will answer the questions that you're talking about, but the president's goals have been very clear on these points, which is that he is not going to allow China to continue to steal our intellectual property, to continue to illegally dump and subsidize their goods in our markets, to manipulate their currency, to rack up an unsustainable trade deficit. We need to have a trade relationship with China that does not do harm to our nation's economic and national security. And that has to be the guidepost of any objective. At the same time, tariffs will bring significant revenue into this country that will allow us to pursue our dramatic plan of tax cuts and reforms.
Trump is also cracking down on universities defying the law. In this clip, hear how he's investigating schools like Harvard for illegal racial quotas, ensuring admissions are colorblind and merit-based, just as the Supreme Court demands. Watch.
This administration has opened investigations into universities across the country for violating. We talk a lot about Supreme Court rulings. Universities across this country are in plain and direct violation of the Supreme Court's ruling that affirmative action, as in racial quotas and set-asides, are illegal. Students must be admitted to universities on a color-blind basis. But we have demonstrated through clear evidence that our university system, including our medical schools, and perhaps particularly our medical schools, are engaging in race-based discrimination, racial set-asides, racial quota schemes, and other efforts to evade the Supreme Court's ruling, and again, the plain text of federal statute. So universities are on notice, and universities are already facing the financial consequences of their noncompliance with federal law. The clearest example that we're all familiar with, of course, being Harvard, which is engaged in repeat, systemic, and sustained violations of federal civil rights law.
Now, the fight against woke culture continues. This clip shows Trump banning critical race theory from schools, ensuring our kids are taught to love America, not hate it, while shutting down communist ideology in education. Check this out.
This administration is also fighting to get critical race theory out of our school districts. Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous communist woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
Finally, Trump, the deal maker, shines. Watch this clip on his historic U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Fund, a first-of-its-kind deal to rebuild Ukraine while benefiting America, and showing his commitment to lasting peace.
Last night, we saw yet again why President Trump is our deal maker in chief. We secured a historic agreement to establish the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This is a first-of-its-kind economic partnership for the reconstruction and long-term economic success of Ukraine that the United States will greatly benefit from. This partnership represents the United States taking an economic stake in securing a free, peaceful, and sovereign future for Ukraine. This partnership establishes a fund that will receive 50% of royalties, license fees, and other similar payments from natural resource projects in Ukraine. President Trump has been clear from the beginning. He wants the killing in this brutal war to end. This agreement shows how invested the president is in securing a truly lasting peace.
That's Donald Trump's common sense revolution in action, patriots. From securing our borders to fighting for our kids and making deals for peace, he's making America great again. So stay tuned for more from a buzzing D.C. This is Gary Franchi signing off. The first 100 days of Trump's return reveals something the elites find terrifying. Common sense works. By slashing DEI bureaucracy, enforcing immigration law, embracing American energy, and returning to merit-based systems, Trump is systematically undoing the ideological damage of the past 4 years. This isn't complicated policy. It's simply removing the artificial barriers that prevented America from thriving. And that's precisely why the establishment fights so desperately against it. Because when America succeeds under these principles, their entire narrative collapses. So here's the question you should be asking. Why does restoring common sense in government trigger such hysterical opposition from the media and folks like Ilhan Omar, who just get asked a very simple question on the street? And what are they so afraid that you'll discover? Huh? Maybe another Doge roundtable, right? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're supporting the truth, make sure you check out the Next News merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It's linked down below. All right. Where are we at right now? Can you tell I'm tired, guys? man, I'll tell you, working the White House all day and then coming to the show, it is exhausting. But I love it. It's kind of like I thrive off of it. Okay, Mrs. Mom 2, I'm in D.C. I keep looking in case I run into you. Well, maybe you will. And Duty to Rebel just became a member. That's weird. Duty to Rebel dropping $5. N3 News, done with integrity and love the best. Love in the best interest of the people. Thank you. And here comes Granny just became a member. Nice. Now you can see some of the behind the scenes videos I posted earlier today. Okay, let's go into our next topic of the evening. Okay. The images today from the White House Rose Garden were nothing short of historic. President Trump standing boldly before faith leaders, military personnel, and everyday Americans reclaiming our nation's sacred heritage of prayer. For years, we've watched as radical secularists have systematically erased any mention of God from our public life, transforming what was once freedom of religion into freedom from religion. But today, something profound happened. The President of the United States led the National Day of Prayer from the seat of government power, invoking the same divine providence our founding fathers sought when establishing this nation. Trump referenced John Adams' first National Day of Prayer in the Continental Congress' 1775 Day of Fasting, reconnecting us with our spiritual foundations. The establishment media is already having a meltdown, but they can't hide what millions of Americans witness today. The faithful are being heard again. And as President Trump restores prayer to the White House, many Americans are reconnecting with practices that revitalize both spirit and body. And speaking of restoration, recent studies show that collagen can dramatically rejuvenate your appearance, much like faith rejuvenates the soul. Just as the National Day of Prayer helps restore America's spiritual foundation, this premium multi-collagen formula restores your skin's youthful foundation. As we witness prayer being honored again in the White House, honor your body's needs too. The science is clear. Regular collagen supplementation reduces wrinkles and improves elasticity. Celebrate the restoration of American values by restoring your own vitality and get 51% off today at healthwithgary.com. It's linked down below. So we got some news direct from the White House today. President Trump just led a soul-stirring National Day of Prayer. Dr. Phil, Dan Patrick, Mike Johnson praising his faith. Here is our report on tax cuts, religious liberty, and more as Trump makes us one nation under God again. Take a look. Patriots, it's Gary Franchi with the Next News Network, extending just steps from the White House on this glorious May 1st. The sun is blazing with hope, the D.C. press corps crackling with anticipation, protesters outside the gates, and President Trump just led a soul-stirring National Day of Prayer in the Rose Garden. I've got the clips to prove faith is back in America. First up, we have Trump delivering for hardworking Americans. You're going to hear him announce the biggest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, overtime, or Social Security, plus a deduction for American-made cars. Listen to this.
These will be the biggest tax cuts in American history, with 100% expensing, which is something that people cannot believe they're getting. We did it in the last one, and we had the most successful economy in my first 4 years that we've ever had, the history of our country. And expensing was one of the things that led to that. But it's 100% expensing for companies investing in America and increasing take-home pay for the typical family by thousands of dollars a year. And to show you how middle income this is, there'll be no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax for the great seniors in Social Security. So you have no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we have full deduction for interest. If you buy a car that's made in America, you get an interest rate deduction. That's going to be it's got to be made in America. If it's not made in America, we really don't care if you buy it or not. But if it's made in America, we want you to buy it. We make the best cars anyway.
Next, a nod to history. Trump reflects on John Adams' first National Day of Prayer, reminding us how God answered our founders' prayers and how he's guiding this administration to make us proud again. Watch.
In a letter to wife Abigail, John Adams wrote of his first National Day of Prayer, millions will be upon their knees at once before their great Creator, imploring his forgiveness and blessing and asking for his favor on the American cause. Beautiful. Today, more than 2.5 centuries later, in the heart of a free and proud America, we rejoice that God answered those prayers. And I think God answered other prayers because he's put in an administration to run this country that's going to make you proud again.
Trump is also fighting for our future. Watch him vow to save Medicaid from Democrat destruction, ensuring it's strengthened for Americans in need. No waste, no fraud, just common sense. Watch.
We'll be saving Medicaid for Americans in need. We will not let the Democrats destroy it and all the waste, fraud, and abuse that they seem to love. And they will decimate Medicaid if they get the chance. We're not going to give them that chance. So just remember, we will be saving Medicaid and strengthening it. It'll be actually very strengthened. And they are going to decimate it. We can't let it happen.
The president then honored our prayerful roots. In this clip, he recalls the Continental Congress's 1775 day of fasting and prayer, a tradition we continue today for liberty and strength. Watch.
Today, as the American people turn to God in prayer, we continue a tradition older than our independence itself. Nearly 250 years ago, on June 12, 1775, the Continental Congress appointed a day of fasting and prayer so that Americans fighting for their liberty could seek the help of the Almighty. And when you look at that, June 12th, 1775, so we have a very, very special day coming up.
And now Trump is bringing faith back to America. Hear him declare that we are restoring religion quickly and strongly, standing firm as one nation under God against the radical left's attacks. Here it is.
We're bringing back religion in our country, and we're bringing it back quickly and strongly. Because for America to be a great nation, we must always be one nation under God, a phrase that they would like to get rid of, the radical left. But Ben, I don't think we're going to let them get rid of that, right? We're not letting them get rid of that.
A historic move for the people of faith. Trump shares how his new White House faith office in the West Wing is defending religious freedoms and supporting vulnerable Americans. It's a first ever. Take a look.
I created a historic White House faith office in the West Wing, and that's going to be an office that's been very well. I see already you have a lot of people going back and forth, and that's good. That's what we want, to defend and represent people of all faiths and their religious freedoms at home and abroad. But they're coming, it's probably doubled the action in the White House. It's been amazing to watch and beautiful to watch. The White House can handle it. This important office will work to protect vulnerable women and children, strengthen the American family, promote the dignity of work and choice and education. And people that are in trouble can come in and they take care of them. Sometimes they'll send them to a doctor. Sometimes Paula does this, and Jenny, others that are in the office. They're doing an amazing job. And I wanted them to have that office. Never happened before. I don't think that's ever happened before, right? People of faith have never been allowed in the White House.
And even Dr. Phil was there, praising Trump's deep faith. Right here, you're going to see him revealing how the president, in his heart, he has one for every American, shines through, making us proud to call him our leader.
Mr. President, I can't tell you, first off, how proud I am to see religion coming back to the White House. God bless you. God bless you for doing this. And let me tell you, it's not a popular thing to do in America right now. And Speaker Johnson is here, and you know he's a man of religion. But you know, I've sat with President Trump with no cameras around, nobody listening, nobody watching. And I'm telling you, this is a man of deep faith, a man of deep conviction. And this is a man that wants this country to have a heart and have religion. And God bless America for giving us President Donald Trump. And when nobody's listening and nobody's looking, this man cares about every single person in America, independent of race, color, creed, whatever. And it comes from the heart with him. And I am proud to call him my president. And God bless you, Mr. President. God bless you.
And then we have Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who hailed Trump's legacy. Watch him thank the president for a new commission to protect religious liberty, ensuring no one gets between God and believers. Watch.
Mr. President, thank you for establishing what I think will be one of the most important presidential commissions in history. It will be one of your great legacies, of which you will have many. We have in this country, we have a magnificent inheritance of religious liberty. And every believer today, no matter your faith, has a claim to that inheritance. We were a nation birthed by prayer, founded on the Judeo-Christian ethic, to ensure that people could worship as they wished without interference from government, but that is no longer the case. The last administration attacked people of faith for 4 years. There's a saying that no one should get between a doctor and a patient. I think we would say no one should get between God and a believer. No one should get between God and those seeking Him. There are so many people in this country, they may even have a family, they may have a job with a lot of employees, but they're alone, and the only person they can turn to is someone who's not listening, but they can turn to God because He is their refuge and He is their wellspring of hope. And no one, no government, no school district, at any level of government or in the private sector should say to someone, you can't pray here or where. That is our right. That is our right. And Mr. President, you have given us an incredible committee. I'm a little overwhelmed. I feel like a pair of brown shoes in a room full of tuxedos, if you want to know. These are high caliber, the foremost faith leaders, scholars, thinkers that you've put together. So on this day, Mr. President, on this day, you are restoring the hopes and the prayers of millions upon millions of believers of all faiths. There's never been a president who has invoked the name of Jesus more than you. There's never been a president who says, yes, I love Jesus, but I love people of all faiths, as Dr. Phil said. You have a heart for every American, and you're showing that today. I'm proud to represent you as chair, proud to have Ben Carson as our vice chair and every member of this committee. We will serve you, we will serve the people, and most importantly, we will serve God. Thank you, Mr. President.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, he closed with a prayer. Hear him honor the National Day of Prayer's history, started by Billy Graham, and ask God's blessing on Trump, J.D. Vance, and our entire nation. Here it is.
Mr. President, it was in 1952 that the Reverend Billy Graham took 40,000 Americans to the east steps of the Capitol and petitioned Congress to establish this day, the National Day of Prayer. It didn't take long. It was 2 days later, unanimous vote in the House of Representatives. Congress worked together well because they knew that priority. They knew we're a nation of faith. It's in our DNA. We are one nation under God, as the President said. Thank you for your leadership, sir. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the friends and the faithful gathered here in the Rose Garden in this beautiful place. We thank you for your extraordinary blessings upon our nation, almost 250 years now as we near the great anniversary of this grand experiment in self-governance that you've given us. God, we are reminded of the admonitions of the Founding Fathers, our first president, George Washington, who reminded us that of all dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. They understood, God, that we had your favor because we understood our place before you, that our rights did not derive from government, but from you, and that those inalienable rights cannot be taken away. So, Father, we commit our nation to you. We ask you for wisdom, discernment, and stamina for the President, for the Vice President, J.D. Vance, for everyone in the Cabinet and all the leaders in Congress, and all these faith leaders here assembled in this garden, and all the Americans around the country who look to you for guidance, who trust you for your protection, and who humbly bow before you and ask for your guidance and your blessing as we continue to bless you. We ask and pray, and I believe this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Trump also stood for the persecuted. Watch now as he highlights Eden Alexander, the last American hostage held by Hamas, showing his commitment to fighting religious persecution globally. Watch.
As we defend religious freedom in America, we're also standing up against religious persecution around the world. With us today are the parents of Eden Alexander, the last living American held hostage by Hamas. Thank you. Thank you. And we don't know how he's doing, really, do we? We don't know. We think we know, and hopefully positive. 2 months ago, we were pretty sure, and looked like he was getting out, but they've toughened up a little bit, and it's a terrible thing. I know what you're going through. A New Jersey boy, Eden, moved to Israel in 2022 and was taken hostage on the vicious October 7th attack on Jewish people.
And finally, Trump led us in prayer. Watch him trust God to guide America to great heights, standing firm despite the critics because he knows that we're right. Watch.
So as we bow our heads in this beautiful day, once again we have to trust our God, because our God knows exactly where we're going, what we're doing, knows every inch of our life. And may he continue to hear our prayers, to guide our steps and build up our beloved nation to even greater heights. We're in the process of doing some great things. I get criticized no matter what, but I just go forward because everyone knows we're right. All we're doing is what they've done to us for 40 years, but we're doing it bigger and better. That's the only thing we're doing.
There it is. That's Trump's faith-filled leadership. Patriots, from tax cuts to defending religious liberty, he's making America a nation under God again. Stay tuned for more from a buzzing Washington, D.C. I'm Gary Franchi for the Next News Network, signing off. So what we witnessed today was more than a ceremonial prayer event. It was a reclamation of America's spiritual identity. By establishing a permanent White House faith office in the West Wing, a first in American history, President Trump isn't just acknowledging faith, he's returning it to its rightful place at the core of our national conversation. The presence of figures like Dr. Phil and numerous faith leaders signifies a remarkable shift in our cultural landscape, a willingness to stand against the aggressive secularism that dominates our institutions. So the question we must consider: why has simply acknowledging God's place in American history become so controversial? What does it reveal about those who find prayer so threatening? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're celebrating the return of faith to America, go ahead and hit the Next News merch shop before supplies run out at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right. Moving right along. No super chats to speak of at the moment. Gary is like, back to you, Gary. Thanks, Gary. That's funny. Cisco. Back to you, Gary. Thank you, Mary, for appreciating the coverage and commentary. Tom B420 dropping $10. Thanks, Gary and staff. N3 for life. Amen. Trump always calling me. What? Thank you, Gary, for capturing that. Amen from Florida. Amen. Mr. President, build that wall. I love my president. Mr. Wonderful is happy as a lark by President Trump's side and shows don't think I've seen him happier. All right, let's go on to our next topic of the evening. Where do we go from here? We're going to the mineral deal. Okay, let's take a quick look at this. Okay. Okay, Brian, this is more of a traditional set. So, let's roll. While the media elites were busy screeching about Donald Trump's tweets, something extraordinary happened on the international stage. President Trump just engineered what may be the most consequential foreign policy achievement since the Abraham Accords, a mineral deal with Ukraine that finally puts America's interests first. After the previous administration handed over $350 billion of your hard-earned tax dollars with absolutely nothing to show for it, Trump has secured access to Ukraine's vast mineral wealth, estimated to be worth billions. Treasury Secretary Scott Besson announced the deal creates a United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, giving America first right of refusal on critical resource extraction. Meanwhile, European countries either loaned their money or used frozen Russian assets, ensuring they'd be repaid, while America got nothing until now. The establishment wants you to focus on personalities and drama because they don't want you to understand the geopolitical chessboard. So don't look away. And as President Trump secures critical minerals from Ukraine, restoring American strength on the world stage, it's time to consider what real strength means for you personally. Like our nation reclaiming its resource independence, American men are reclaiming their natural vitality with Test Boost Max. Just as Trump's mineral deal counters foreign control of essential resources, this powerful supplement helps counter the daily attacks on your testosterone levels from processed foods, environmental toxins, and constant stress. The clinical research is clear. These modern assaults raise cortisol, blocking your natural testosterone. So fight back with 8 powerful natural ingredients that help restore your energy, strength, and masculine vitality at buildwithgary.com. It's linked below. So we got some breaking news. If you didn't hear about this, now you are. President Trump has signed a historic mineral deal with Ukraine that will finally make America get paid back for the $350 billion that Joe Biden just threw away. Treasury Secretary Scott Besson, this agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to peace. Listen.
Reconstruction, and I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people. I am glad to announce the signing of today's
And President Trump explains why he made the deal. We are in for $350 billion. That's why.
You got the deal with Zelensky. You got the deal with Zelensky on the minerals. That means the United States is going to have a presence in Ukraine. Is that going to inhibit Putin, do you think?
Well, but the reason I did that
is that we're in for $350 billion or close to it, whereas Europe is only in it for $100 billion.
All right, so we get some of our investment back. All right,
I
Cuomo.
felt very foolish. You know, they loaned the money, and Biden handed them $350 billion in between cash and military equipment. 350, we got nothing, and I felt very foolish being the head of a country where Europe gets their money back, and it's a much smaller amount, and we get nothing. So I went to them and said, look, we got to get rare earth. They have great rare earth, meaning certain minerals, materials. They have things that a lot of places don't have. It's a big asset that they have. And we made a deal today where we get, you know, much more in theory than the $350 billion. But I wanted to be protected. I didn't want to be out there and trying to stop it. But the reason I want it stopped is they're losing 5,000 young soldiers every single week on average. Russian and Ukrainian. They're not American, but they're human beings, and it's so sad to see it. So I want to stop the war.
Interesting side note, while this town hall with President Trump on News Nation was happening, I was actually at the White House. Actually, just before it, President Trump, he was in the Oval Office. He was getting ready for this town hall, and I saw the News Nation crew outside of the White House getting ready to do some teasers for their own channel, and had some great conversations with the folks at News Nation about this town hall. So that's really cool. Just some behind the scenes stuff. Now, DNI Tulsi Gabbard had this to say: President Trump was very, very bothered that American taxpayers were out of pocket.
You know, this deal was very important to the president to get done, and today was a big day. A lot of work went into getting this deal signed today because he values the fact that, as he talked about earlier in the cabinet meeting today, about how the American taxpayer has provided overall, when you look at all of the aid that's been given to Ukraine since the Russia-Ukraine war started, $350 billion. And when you look at some of the deals that some of the other European countries made with the aid they provided with Ukraine, either they used frozen Russian money, so they weren't using their taxpayer dollars, and they found a way to give them, you know, frozen money from Russian funds, and in other areas they said, okay, we'll loan you this money and we'll figure out a payback plan for the future. But not us, not the Biden administration. This money was just given, and that's it. So President Trump understood that, was very, very, very bothered by it, that the American people are just out of pocket on this without any means of any kind of repayment whatsoever. And so this minerals deal is a way for the American people to get some form of not return, but some kind of a repayment based on the taxpayer dollars that have been expended and used to pay for someone else's government to be run, to pay for someone else's infrastructure, even outside of all of the weapons system, while we still have communities here who have failing infrastructure, who have poisonous water, who have people still in Western North Carolina who are homeless and don't have the basic needs that they have. And so this deal, yes, of course, he wouldn't have made the deal if they don't have these rare earth and minerals that still need to be mined, but of course we checked. He's not going to go and make a blind deal based on just a handshake. And so this is a win for the American people, and it's a win for the Ukrainian people, because this joint partnership is something that is mutually beneficial for the people of both of our countries.
And it's about damn time. So this creates a joint U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, giving America access to Ukraine's critical minerals worth billions of dollars. Listen.
Estimated to be... Good morning, Michael. This is a landmark agreement, I think, giving the U.S. access to Ukraine's mineral wealth, estimated to be worth billions of dollars. While it doesn't offer Ukraine the clear security guarantees that it's wanted, it does say repeatedly that the U.S. backs a, quote, peaceful and sovereign Ukraine. In a video message on X, Treasury Secretary Scott Besson saying it signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration's committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign Ukraine, saying it's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. and the killing must stop. And I think it's a huge step forward. You remember that acrimonious meeting in the Oval Office in February descended into a shouting match involving the president, vice president, and Zelensky. Well, speaking to News Nation, President Trump saying this deal could hinder Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The president frustrated by the lack of progress on a peace deal and by ongoing Russian attacks. And overnight, another massive Russian airstrike hitting civilian sites like apartment blocks, a school, a supermarket. At least 2 people killed, 15 injured, and rescue efforts still ongoing this morning. And for the people of Ukraine, now at least, no signs this war is ending. Robin?
That appears to be the case.
Stephen Miller explains that we're taking advantage of the trillions of dollars in coal wealth and mineral wealth that exist in the United States, but this deal is meant to pay back the U.S. Listen.
Operationalized. So on the rare earth mineral deal that was signed last night, when can that deal be operationalized? What's the time frame? And what kind of leverage does that give Ukraine over Russia?
I think the more important point about the Ukraine deal, and I would hopefully have an update for you soon on how quickly it can be operationalized, but we'll be moving at full speed, not only on that mineral deal, by the way, but on every mineral deal that this president has been unleashing. So we're opening up mines all across this country. We're also pursuing energy and mineral deals all over the world. Since the president issued his executive order also on deregulating coal, we've seen dramatic coal production increases already in the United States. So we're taking advantage of the trillions of dollars in coal wealth and mineral wealth that exists in the United States. We're a very mineral-rich country. But with respect to that deal, we'll move it and operationalize it as fast as we possibly can. But it's meant to pay back the United States. This is the key point. For the hundreds of billions of dollars that our taxpayers have spent subsidizing the war in Ukraine. So it is repayment to the United States. And that's one of the most important points to understand about it.
What's the leverage? Does it give? What kind of leverage does it give?
The president's goal, again, is to end the killing, to achieve a peace settlement. That remains, of course, the overriding objective.
I was in the press room when that went down today, too. Now, the deal creates a 10-year profit-sharing arrangement where the U.S. gets first dibs on investment opportunities. Listen.
And by the way, let me sort of recap the deal. This basically creates a joint fund between the United States and Ukraine. Okay, that fund is going to invest in extraction of critical minerals. And by the way, also oil and gas, but critical minerals are pretty big. It's sort of a weak spot for us. For the first 10 years profit, those are supposed to be reinvested in Ukraine, and the United States will get first right of refusal, basically meaning first dibs as it relates to investments that are involved or support mineral rare earth extraction. And I want to be really clear here. What's most important about this is this ties the United States, our interests, to the Ukraine, but it's not a blank check. This is effectively a way of beginning to draw those lines for Russia without simply having to draw those lines and say, don't do it, you better not. Russia knows that we have an interest in this. It creates an alliance. It solves the issue, but is mutually beneficial. Let me sort of recap the deal. This basically...
Russia is not going to bomb anywhere near any location that has an American flag. That's the whole point of this thing.
Process. Apparently we're on again. Tell me how this plays out. How important is this in the process of ending that pointless war? And I do think it's a pointless war. I have personally said from the beginning, look, Crimea's 10 years gone. It's not coming back to Ukraine. I don't think the Donbass and some of those other regions in the east are coming back either. I never have. And yet we've continued the grinding of human lives into oblivion for 3 years now. How does this help change that? How do we get to a permanent ceasefire and peace in that region?
Well, Trump is playing chess again, and the rest of the world, and these knuckleheads, as I call them in Congress, are playing checkers. Russia is not going to bomb anything anywhere near any location that has an American flag. You're going to have American industry over there. Putin does not want that. He does not want that at all. And he knows he's going to, if he gets on Trump's last nerve, it's over for him. And he will embargo, they will shut Russia down if they hurt one American. And we need these rare earth minerals. It keeps the communists from getting, it keeps China from getting them. And then, and I think it's a big win economically for America and our industry. And it's what President Trump talked about, bringing the jobs home.
So here we are, having pumped in, I don't think we actually know, but tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
250, say 250. 250 billion,
say,
probably. Maybe a little more.
Right. Do we know where it went?
That's a big win. And some Ukrainians are concerned. From what I could see, they only want to take, not to give. Really? How much have we already given?
Kiev hammer out a mineral. As the US and Kiev hammer out a mineral deal, Ukrainians from the mining heartlands have a message for Washington. The resources are theirs. Alexander is a resident of Kryvyi Rih, a city near iron ore mining and processing plants.
From what I can see, they only want to take, not to give.
US President Donald Trump has put pressure on Kiev and threatened to stop the flow of military supplies, unless the US gets some payback for the billions of dollars it spends in aid.
Nothing has been agreed yet. They would like to, but you cannot have dealings with that ginger guy. He's not that kind of person.
Damn, Robert Paulson is looking really, really bad these days. Let's keep going here. This is what real leadership looks like. Trump stopped the endless giveaways, created a deal that benefits America, helps end the war, secures critical minerals, blocks China from getting them, and brings jobs home. This is how you put America first while helping allies pay back. So this Ukraine mineral deal, it represents precisely what Trump promised during his campaign. An America First approach that secures our national interests while creating more stable international relationships. But getting access to critical minerals that China has been monopolizing, we're not just getting payback for billions in aid, we're strengthening our supply chain, creating American manufacturing jobs, and establishing a powerful deterrent against further Russian aggression. So the question everybody should be asking, why didn't the previous administration secure any economic benefits for America while sending billions overseas? Was it incompetence or something more deliberate, like money laundering for the Democrat Party? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're supporting real journalism, make sure you head over to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and browse the merch shop and grab something that shows you support real news. Okay, let's keep going. Where we're at now. Right on Cue has just become a member. And our Boyd dropping a question. He's asking, will this endeavor with Ukraine end the war? I hope it will, unless Russia decides to start bombing those mineral sites, right? You're basically putting a target on American industry in Ukraine. So that's something we have to keep a very close eye on. Okay. Now, we're going to go into our next topic of the evening. So, Brian, you know the drill on this. And I just hope everything's working out. All right. Tonight, we reveal the financial conspiracy that makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. For decades, a shadow financial system has been meticulously constructed right under our noses, funded with trillions of dollars stolen directly from American taxpayers. This is not speculation, it's documented fact. By September 10th, 2001, a staggering $4.1 trillion had already gone missing from the Department of Defense and Housing and Urban Development. The very next day, well, you know what happened. And suddenly nobody was asking about the missing money. Pentagon officials admitted $2.3 trillion in undocumentable adjustments. Accounting speak, for we have no idea where it went. But it gets worse. By 2015, the missing funds had ballooned to $6.5 trillion in a single year. When a Michigan State University professor investigated, he discovered the total had reached an almost incomprehensible $21 trillion. That's not government waste. That's systematic theft on a scale never before seen in human history. So pay attention to what comes next. And as we expose the $21 trillion financial heist engineered by global elites, it's becoming clear why self-sufficiency matters more than ever. Just as these hidden financial systems are designed to control everyday Americans, the products you use daily create another form of dependency. That's why patriotic Americans are switching to trusted American-made household essentials. While the financial control grid tightens around us, you can take back control of what enters your home. These aren't just any products. They're non-toxic, built with integrity, and created by Americans who share your values. Don't fund the very system that's designed to control you. Go to patriotswitchnn.com to register while there is still space available and learn more. Okay, so this is the plot. It's a globalist plot. It's so sinister it will jolt you awake. And who is our guide? Well, Catherine Austin Fitts, a financial titan turned whistleblower. She's no lightweight. Former Assistant Secretary of Housing under Bush Sr., founder of Hamilton Securities, and a relentless crusader against deep state corruption. From trillions stolen to a digital cage, Fitts is sounding the alarm, so let's dive in. And she's warning governments are digitizing money to enslave us, turning currency into a weapon. It's an invisible corral for a digital prison. Take a look.
You get
a control system, not cash. Fitts says that central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are the weapon. The Fed's been testing them since 2022. China's digital yuan is live. With 5G and blockchain, every transaction is tracked. This is tyranny closing in fast. Now, Fitts is skeptical of CBDCs, seeing them as a dangerous step towards total control. Even Trump's against them, unless they're private stablecoins. Check this out.
You are very skeptical and you find CBDC a very dangerous prospect. Then Trump is also against CBDC. So I was wondering, how do you resonate with that?
He's unbelievably pro CBDC as long as it's privately owned and controlled.
Exactly, the stable coins. So yeah.
So CBDCs are a trap. That's what she's warning. The World Economic Forum's pushing digital IDs to tie your money to your behavior. Trump's okay with private coins, but Fitts says any digital currency risks control. The EU is rolling out CBDC trials, so our freedom is on the line. Now, this isn't just mass control. Fitts says that AI targets you personally, surveilling and nudging your every move. It's dystopian. Watch.
And
it's a prison planet, and you're already living in it. And AI is your personal jailer. Now, Fitts sees a world where big tech and the CBDCs create a social credit system like China's, locking your account for wrongthink. Google's data collection is just the start. This is the surveillance state on steroids, and we're the targets. But what about your tax dollars? Well, Fitts says that $4.1 trillion vanished from the Defense Department and HUD by 9/11. And she was about to expose it when the towers fell. Watch. So, $4.1 trillion gone, and 9/11 buries the story. Fitts was pushing the GAO to act, but the deep state shut it down. The Pentagon's failed every audit since 2018, losing billions yearly. This is our money, stolen for secrets. The theft grew to $21 trillion, funding a breakaway civilization of secret bases. Fitts says it's a shadow world. Check this out.
But the money kept going missing. I kept covering it for many years. And so a process began. The largest amount that went missing in any year was in 2015, $6.5 trillion. And a professor from Michigan State University heard me talking about it and said, what can I do to help? And I had him and his students do a survey of DOD, the two agencies where the majority of money had gone missing. And he came back and found 21 trillion missing. I had it up to 12 trillion and he increased it by 9 trillion. And essentially, what everybody says, well, where's the money going? And we can engage in conjecture on that. But clearly part of the problem was that trying to finance the black budget and a whole parallel universe of sort of weaponry and intelligence and military infrastructure was getting more and more painful. When 9/11 happened, they passed the Patriot Act. That made it much easier to get on budget money into the black budget, but it kept ballooning. And literally the way some of us describe it is it was enough money to fund a separate civilization. Essentially people saying we can't operate within this democratic machinery. We have to fund and build a secret infrastructure outside the government. So we called it the breakaway civilization. And literally, you funded a very significant infrastructure. And one way of looking at what's happening now is the breakaway civilization is breaking back in.
So 21 trillion stolen for 170 secret U.S. bases. That's according to Catherine Austin Fitts. Now, this isn't conspiracy. DOD's own reports admit untracked billions, a parallel society, maybe space tech, funded by you, hidden from you. It's a betrayal of trust. In post 9/11, the Patriot Act funneled billions into this black budget. Fitts calls it the Control and Concentration of Cash Flow Act. Watch this. Not about terror, but treasure. She says the Patriot Act was a deep state cash machine. Defense spending hit $886 billion in 2023, much of it secret. This is our republic being fleeced while they wave the flag. And Fitts warns that bankers are seizing fiscal policy, building on their 1913 monetary control. It's a coup against our republic. Take a look. Bankers running our budget? That's the end of we the people. She says laws like Dodd-Frank tightened their grip. Now, if they control taxes and spending, your vote is worthless. This is the elite tyranny, and we all must fight it. And she says the U.S. launders about $500 billion to $1 trillion in crime money yearly. It's systemic rot. Now, check this out. So, $1 trillion in dirty cash, drugs, fraud, trafficking, washed by our banks. She told a DOJ source that only 1 in 100 would stop it. HSBC's $1.9 billion fine in 2012 proves it. It's not a glitch. It's a criminal empire in a suit. Now, a debt crash is coming, and Fitts says that the control grid will manage us when we're broke. Energy breakthroughs could help, but elites want power. Take a look. Now, U.S. debt's $33 trillion, and Fitts sees collapse like Russia's 1990s. The grid to keep us docile. Fusion energy could save us, but the Fed's rate hikes scream control. We can't let them crush us into poverty. She also exposes the Bank of International Settlements, untouchable secrecy, and FASAB 56, which legalizes budget hiding. Elites enforce rules with tech. Watch.
Okay.
So the Bank of International Settlements hides trillions and they're above the law. FASAB 56 passed in 2018 lets the DOD and others fake budgets, according to Catherine Austin Fitts. Now, the Bank of International Settlements tech, like blockchain, enforces their rules. This is a globalist fortress, and we're locked out. So the implications of this massive financial theft extend far beyond mere corruption. This is about the construction of an invisible prison. The global elites have used these stolen trillions to build what insiders call a breakaway civilization, a parallel infrastructure beyond public oversight. And now they're breaking back in with digital currency systems designed to monitor and control every transaction that you make. This isn't paranoia. It's the logical conclusion of decades of documented financial manipulation. So the question you need to be asking, if 21 trillion can disappear without accountability, what else don't we know about the financial systems controlling our lives? And more importantly, who benefits from this massive theft? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And while protecting your financial freedom, show your support for independent media by going to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Wow, that was insane. So what did you guys think about that format? Just testing out some different styles here. A little bit, not just going back and forth to X and scrolling, but my next segment is all scrolling through the stuff that we've organized for you today. Let's see, where are we at here? Mike Walls. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Okay, Brian, we can go. What we're witnessing today in Washington is nothing short of a seismic shakeup at the highest levels of national security. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has been removed from his position and reassigned as UN ambassador following what insiders are calling Signalgate, a catastrophic security breach that exposed sensitive military operations against the Houthis to one of the administration's most notorious media enemies. You know, folks, I'm old enough to remember when scandals didn't automatically get the suffix "gate" attached to them. These days, if presidents order the wrong salad dressing, we've got dressing gate trending by lunch. But unlike coffee gate or hamburger gate, this one is actually serious. The shocking scandal erupted when Jeffrey Goldberg, editor of The Atlantic and the man behind the Debunk Suckers and Losers hit piece during the 2020 campaign, was somehow added to a private Signal group chat containing top White House officials discussing classified operations. The president initially tried to downplay the situation, telling reporters, "Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago." But behind the scenes, heads were rolling. And I'm reporting live from D.C., where sources tell me this was the final straw in an already strained relationship. And as the White House deals with a major security breach, American families are facing their own security crisis, skyrocketing energy bills that threaten financial stability. Just as Signalgate exposed vulnerabilities in our national security apparatus, most homeowners remain unaware of the inefficiencies draining their wallets every month. While the administration addresses its security protocols, you can address your home's energy security with this revolutionary device. By stabilizing electrical currents and reducing dirty electricity, it protects your appliances while slashing power consumption. Much like the White House is removing security vulnerabilities, you can eliminate energy waste. Take back control from greedy power companies at don'twastepower.com. Okay, so I was at the White House today, and immediately following the press conference, all the chatter that was in that press room was all about Mike Waltz. And the source came up to me and it said, Mike Waltz is out. The press office isn't confirming it. But, immediately I went and filed this report. Take a look. Garden with the press. Good afternoon, Patriots. Gary Franchi here with the Next News Network, reporting outside the White House on this stunning May 1st. The sun is shining, the D.C. press corps buzzing with energy. Now, I've got the inside scoop you won't hear anywhere else. Mike Waltz and his deputy, Alex Wong, are out of the White House. Sources say the National Security Advisor and his deputy were axed after Waltz's late March blunder, accidentally adding the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg to a Signal chat, spilling a Houthi strike plan. Whispers in the press room reveal that the press office won't confirm, quietly saying, "We are not getting ahead of the president. Wait for his announcement." Now, right now, the president is in the Rose Garden with the press corps for the National Day of Prayer event, honoring our values while cleaning house to keep America safe. We'll have more exclusive updates, so stay tuned, Patriots, for the real truth. Thank you for following that report, Gary. Much appreciated, and your work on the ground at the White House is indispensable. All right. So we got some clips here we're going to roll through regarding everything that happened with Signalgate. And I want to get to this clip from Laura Loomer. She filed this just about 24 hours ago, talking about Signalgate and Jeffrey Goldberg and Alex Wong.
And you'll see that Alex Wong is the Deputy National Security Advisor serving under Michael Waltz. He is also an assistant to President Donald Trump. And if you're following my reports, then you'll see that Alex Wong is one of the individuals who was in this Signal chat that Michael Waltz is now taking responsibility for setting up. But if you look at the Signal messages, it clearly says that, oh, Alex Wong is my deputy and I put him in charge with making sure that everybody gets in this chat. And the controversy is how a leftist reporter by the name of Jeffrey Goldberg, who works for a hostile anti-Trump publication known as The Atlantic, was able to get added to this top secret chat with intel officials and key administration officials. And it's now quite an embarrassment to the Trump administration. So here's the tweet I posted the other day, in case you haven't seen it. Alex Wong, he's Chinese, by the way, so I don't really know who's doing the vetting. Again, all I know is that I'm not doing the vetting, okay? All I know is that I am not responsible for the vetting of the Trump administration. Because if I was involved in vetting, things like this would not be happening, okay? So, again, I don't know why we have Chinese individuals in positions of national security in the Trump administration. Maybe that's a question for Michael Waltz. I don't know, but it's concerning. It's definitely very concerning. Alex Wong.
So let's keep going. President Trump shuts down a reporter. Remember this? Asking about Pete Hegseth and Signalgate.
At an all-time high, the spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Well, what's new is that now Waltz is out. The American people don't care about the inner workings. Does Signalgate resonate with American voters? Let's check in with Tim Cast.
The Democrats get rid of that story really quickly. He could have just booted him out, but he chose to stand by him. So I suspect Trump's going to stand by Hegseth throughout all of this.
I do think it may largely be fake news, specifically because, as you were mentioning, I think it was you saying this, that the Democrats are just speed running through all these narratives and these individuals trying to latch onto something, and they don't have any strong case against the Trump administration.
Oh, come on. Signalgate was a fucking disaster.
It did not resonate with a single person.
Okay, I know. Okay, I interviewed Laura Loomer for my podcast, okay? And you
you did?
You might. Yes, I did. I just had her on Thursday, and you may say what you want to say about her, but she's very close to the president. She's a very powerful person.
I don't think we have anything bad to say about Laura Loomer.
Okay. All right.
Well, no, she was saying that she's powerful and close to the president.
She is. She had an ability to walk in the door and a side door into the Oval Office, and she had the ability to essentially take out 6 very powerful people in the national security apparatus, overruling Mike Waltz, okay?
Yeah.
And actually, when she showed up in Washington, she told me, and this has never been reported, that she had a video of Mike Waltz from 2016 speaking very poorly about Donald Trump, and we'll have it in the podcast. You should check it out on my YouTube channel at Tara Palmieri. But yeah, she came there to kill Waltz. Waltz walked in the door just in time because she knows he's 78 years old, Trump, and she's got to show him the video. And so Waltz walks in the door. So she told me that Trump is not happy with Waltz, and she told me there's a lot of infighting in the administration.
But do you think he'll get fired?
Listen, I don't think she would have gone on my show and talked like that if she didn't think he was already on ice.
So this may be ultra incorrect.
Yep, and now he is out the door. Mike Waltz removed as of this morning.
You said you want to call me. And it turns out that 3 different people, 2, the original source and 2 others, have confirmed that the plan now by the White House is to remove the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, who was on Fox News this morning, just not that long ago, and his deputy, Alex Wong, and much of the current staff team at the National Security Council because of unhappiness throughout the national security establishment of how they're doing. The West Wing's unhappy, the State Department, the Treasury, unhappiness. And of course, this was around before Signalgate. It was widely reported that Signalgate, ironically, may have saved Waltz's job because the president didn't want to be seen as if he were giving in to Jeffrey Goldberg, his new best friend. But there's lots of levels of unhappiness, and it's less about Signalgate than it is about, as I understand it from my sources, a general belief that it's not being run efficiently in an organized way. It may not. It may happen as early as today. It may not happen ever because it's Donald Trump. But the plan is for it to happen soon. Maybe this weekend. One source says this weekend. We'll see. But the original.
We certainly saw today at the White House when he was let go. Here we have MAGA Michelle. I think Alex Wong was the creep behind the Signalgate.
All right, there's a breaking news that happened in the commercial break. So what you're looking at photographs right now of Michael Waltz. He is the president's national security advisor, except for we just got news that he is going to be leaving the administration along with his deputy, Alex Wong. Of course, if you might remember the story of Signalgate. I don't know if that's for a particular reason, but there was some consternation among some people about Mike Waltz, who you might remember was a congressman, Green Beret, a long history and career in foreign policy. And I believe...
And that career is coming to an end. President Trump announces the move of Mike Waltz to UN ambassador. He says this, I'm pleased to announce I'll be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. From his time in uniform on the battlefield in Congress and as my national security advisor, Mike Waltz has worked hard to put our nation's interests first. I know he'll do the same in his new role. And the interim Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, will serve as national security advisor. Now, Rubio's wearing two hats. While continuing his strong leadership at State Department, together we will continue to fight tirelessly to make America and the world safe again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's how he decided to make the announcement that the press office told us to just wait for. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, we're not firing him. We're just going to move him over to UN ambassador, right? So a very interesting way to shuffle the deck there. Trump taps Mike Waltz as the new UN ambassador, Rubio acting national security advisor. Trump said he'll nominate Waltz, his national security advisor, to be next U.S. ambassador to the UN after criticism for inadvertently adding a journalist to the Signal group chat.
He's the president every day.
It's being presented as a way that Mike Waltz is moving to another position. Is this a promotion? Is it a demotion? Is it a lateral move?
President Trump has long defended Mike Waltz. Even when Signalgate first came out, he said that he trusts him and he still believes in him. The national security advisor is in the West Wing. He sees the president every day. He gets a security detail, much like the chief of staff, that other members of the administration don't necessarily get. The ambassador to the UN has also been a high-profile position for this administration, considering Elise Stefanik wasn't able to take that role. So it does seem like it is a shift here, but in terms of a demotion or a promotion, having access to the White House every day, this is going to be a very stark difference, not to mention he's likely going to be moving out of Washington to complete it.
Any idea at this point whose names have been bandied about for taking on a full-time role as national security advisor now that Mike Waltz is out?
There are reports that Steve Witkoff could potentially move into that. Of course, he's been serving in this special envoy capacity, but still President Trump is basically signaling to us, though, that he has a pretty long...
And that's exactly what I heard in the press room today. I heard Witkoff's name whispered throughout the press office. So that was the... that's some of the inside stuff that I heard. I can confirm what she was reporting on right there. So real wild stuff happening at the White House today. So the security breach, it demonstrates the high stakes of digital communications in modern governance and the serious consequences for those who fail to maintain proper protocols, even at the highest levels. The reassignment of Mike Waltz represents a significant demotion, moving him from one of the most powerful positions in the administration to a more ceremonial diplomatic role. Meanwhile, fingers are pointing at Deputy National Security Advisor Alex Wong, whose wife reportedly worked under both Biden and Obama, raising serious questions about divided loyalties within the national security apparatus. So the question patriots everywhere should be asking, how did someone with such clear connections to the previous administration gain enough trust to handle sensitive communications in the Trump White House? Was this an innocent mistake or something more deliberate? Share your theories in the comments section. And while you're securing your own digital communications, make sure you head on down to the Next News merch shop link below and grab some merch and show you stand with the real news. All right, looks like Craig just gifted one Next News Network membership. What is up? Okay, where are we at right now? Let's see. Congrats, Debbie. Mousetrap. UN is useless. Wow. Okay, so it's been a long day for me, guys. I've got more work to do, and I would love to sit and hang out, but I have to close out this show. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's Raw Feed. What we've witnessed together today is nothing short of a revolution, a systematic dismantling of the narratives carefully constructed to keep you, the American people, in the dark. We began with Trump's common sense revolution, 100 days of restoration that has the establishment in panic. And by slashing $200 billion in government waste, securing our borders, ending the war on American energy, and restoring free speech, President Trump has proven that governance doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be courageous. In the bureaucratic state, it's trembling because their complexity has always been a smokescreen for incompetence and corruption. And then we witness history in the Rose Garden as prayer returned to the White House, not as a political strategy, but as a recognition of our nation's foundational principles. By establishing the first ever White House faith office in the West Wing, President Trump isn't just acknowledging God's role in American history, he's ensuring that voice remains present in our nation's future. The secular elites are horrified, which tells you everything you need to know about why this matters. And the Ukraine mineral deal reveals Trump's mastery of statecraft, securing America's interests while creating pathways to peace. After $350 billion was handed over with nothing in return, Trump has ensured America gets first access to critical minerals worth billions, strengthening our supply chain and creating American jobs. When they call him transactional, they're accidentally telling the truth. He transacts in America's favor, not against it. And perhaps most disturbing was our expose on the $21 trillion heist, engineered by global elites to build a hidden financial control grid. This is not conspiracy, it's documented fact. From the Pentagon's own admission of missing trillions to the construction of digital currencies designed to track your every transaction, we're witnessing the final stages of a plan decades in the making. Your financial freedom hangs in the balance. And finally, the White House shakeup today following Signalgate demonstrates the high stakes of national security in the digital age. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's reassignment to the UN ambassador after the catastrophic breach sends a clear message. In Trump's administration, security failures have consequences. So I want to sincerely thank all of you who sent in super chats and rumble rants tonight during the broadcast. Your support isn't just financial, it's moral. It tells us that the truth matters to you as much as it matters to us. And that's why we do this every day, because in a world of manufactured narratives, the raw truth is revolutionary. If you found value in tonight's reporting, please consider supporting our work through a donation. The links are in the description below. Every dollar helps us continue bringing you the stories that corporate media won't touch. Or grab some exclusive Next News merch and show the world where you stand. And tell a friend about what you saw here tonight. Person-to-person communication is still the most powerful form of resistance against censorship. Until next time, I'm Gary Franchi from Washington, D.C. This has been The Raw Feed. God bless America, and good night.